All right, and we're live. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Multiverse Show, Season 5, Episode 18. Thank you guys for tuning in. We got a slam dunk kind of show prepared for you guys this week. The panel is on, the panel is lit. We are ready to roll, and we're going to have a great time. First off, we have to do our introductions for the evening. First off, we have the Caesar of Cinema, the Baron of Britain himself, Mr. James Wilson.
Hello, everybody. Bringing up the London Massive here. I'm finally back in London full-time because the cinemas opened last Monday. Hell yeah, I'm excited to talk about all the things. Let's get into it.
All right, we also have the man with the megaphone, the Don Deletion, Mr. Mike P. the Truth, gracing us with his presence 2 weeks in a row. Well, 3 weeks maybe. Oh, that sounds like.
Yo, what's good, everybody? It's Mike. Thank you for tuning in for another great episode of Multiverse Show. It always feels good to be back here on a Monday night, so let's get it started.
And we also have the White Wolf himself, the writer extraordinaire, Mr. Samuel Tolbert.
It is good to be here with my bros. Yeah, let's. It's exciting. Let's dive into this one.
All right, and we have the illustrious guest of the evening, Mr. David Burdett, coming on his debut episode for the Multiverse Show. Welcome, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. For those who don't know me, I am David Burdett, aka SplitEnd89 on Twitter, and I'm the lead editor for GamingTrend.com.
Excellent. I do read some of your articles on occasion when they grace my Twitter feed, which is constantly changing at this point in time. But yes, man, it's really a pleasure to have you on.
Pleasure to be here.
All right, so we asked the immortal question we ask every single week, and since you're our guest this evening, Davey, you'll be the first one to answer. What have you been playing, sir? Just off the top of your head, what you been playing to?
Gotcha. It's been a lot of different stuff. Did a little bit of Resident Evil on Stadia. Did some Days Gone PC, which it's incredible how good that game looks on a computer, just let me say. And I'm always on the Call of Duty grind, so yeah, I'm shooting commies and enjoying it.
All right, excellent. And James, you get a chance to play anything this week?
Nothing new. Mostly just playing more of Apex. Valkyrie just continues to be an amazing addition to the game. It's just so awesome to play with her. I'm delving back into Breath of the Wild as well, and of course playing Resi 8 to get my speedrunning times down. I've just cracked under 3 hours.
All right, excellent. And Mike, what you been playing, sir?
Playing some MLB The Show 21, a little bit of Mortal Kombat 11, kind of getting back into that again, playing some online matches, but for the most part, main topic of the evening, Resident Evil 8. Can't wait to dive into this.
All right, and Sam.
Yeah, so I have been playing a little bit more Resident Evil Village. I'm on like my third playthrough at this point. God, I love that game. God, I love that game. Really enjoying that, trying to mop up all the trophies on the PlayStation version before I go over and start fresh on the Xbox version, in case you can't tell how much I love it. Outside of that, however, I have been doing a replay of The Last of Us Part 2 that I actually started a couple of months ago, but I put it down because Returnal and Resident Evil Village dropped. But I picked it back up again because of the 60 FPS update. So I was like, you know what? Yeah, that's a sign. That's a good notion for me to push through, go ahead and finish up getting the platinum. So I've been doing that, and 60 FPS makes a big difference. I will say that. Mm-hmm. Like, I liked the combat and I liked the game when it came out last year, but just I can't go back. 60 FPS, it's just so much better, just so much smoother.
Yep, that's true. 60 FPS does make a big difference in a lot of these games. But yeah, so we got a couple things we want to discuss. James, before we ever get into anything at all, we have to do pay the bills, so to speak. Just real quick, for you guys who do not know, over the last few weeks, or actually now at this point, months, we have been working with local game shops in our current areas to give them a little bit of attention as COVID restrictions lessen here in the United States and across the world. Right now, we are doing a sponsorship deal with Lost Ark Video Games, based out of Greensboro, North Carolina. If you guys are in the Triad area, or even the Research Triangle in North Carolina, you guys have an opportunity to go to a great game shop. They do a lot of cool different stuff there. They have D&D stuff. It's a regular video game shop, retro, modern things. If you want to get all the latest the latest games like Biomutant that just came out, you can get it there as well. They also have a arcade in the back. You can actually have 24, the all-day access to for a low price. You can come and go as you please. You can get really any kind of amount of really random little merchandise and fun little things. Like they do little cootie drawings and things like that. It's a great atmosphere and a bunch of good people there who are just doing a good service for our little geeky community out there. If you are in the North Carolina area, please go and check them out. Other than that, we can go on the rest of the show. James, has anything happened in the movie sphere? I know lately we've been hearing a lot of trailers coming around. I know we were talking about Turtles a little bit later, but just real quick, has there anything been going on currently?
I mean, there's been a bunch of releases because cinemas have opened. Very much against character, I have not actually been back to watch a film in the cinemas in the week that they've been opened. Mostly because I've just been too busy either working there or just sort of rebuilding my room in my house in London, just because it was empty for a bunch of months and it has to sort of just I had to make it look good again. So as much as I'd like to talk about Spiral from the Book of Saw or any of this stuff, I can't. The only thing I can talk about is the trailers. And today, literally today, out of nowhere, we got a trailer for one of the most anticipated movies of the year, Marvel's Eternals. This is the new film in the MCU. It was supposed to come out last November. This is the one directed by Chloe Zhao, who at the time was just a well-respected director. Now she's the first Oscar-winning director to direct a Marvel film, so it's a big deal. It's surprising that in the trailer for Eternals, they don't really mention her name or the fact that she won an Oscar. It's surprising because, if I had someone like that under my payroll, I would shout that from the heavens to get as many people interested as I could. But, Kevin Feige, I assume, does know best. He has made a multi-billion-dollar franchise, so good for him. I personally don't really know what to feel about Eternals because I don't read the comics for a lot of stuff, the stuff that doesn't involve Batman, basically. So I don't really know anything about Eternals beyond what I've read in press releases, and that really hasn't been a lot. So if anyone here actually does know about Eternals and wants to jump in and say anything about them, please do. Because going off the trailer, it looked a bit like A Wrinkle in Time to me, and that film wasn't very good. So, Sam, I know you're a comics dude. You must know about Eternals.
Not a ton real here. The Eternals are, how do I put this without the problem is the little bit I know is probably hyper spoilery for what they're gonna do in this film.
Are you talking about the thing that involves a villain, a very well established villain that we've already seen in the MCU?
Kind of, yeah, but not kind of. Here's what I'm gonna say. Here's what I'm gonna say about Eternals. I'm not super hyped for it right now. I'm sure that's going to change. My main question is this idea, right, of these are essentially, for all intents and purposes, immortal demigods, right?
Yeah.
For the Marvel Universe. You can know that about these individuals. I'm curious how they're going to justify them not being involved, but keeping up to date with everything that's happened in the MCU so far. I'm very curious how they're going to pull that off, because it's a couple of films ago, like Avengers Endgame or even Avengers Infinity War, that should have crossed the threshold for them to interfere in what's going on in the universe. That they shouldn't interfere for a lot of stuff, but that should have hit the threshold. So they're going to have some explanation for why they're all of a sudden getting involved, and I'm curious how they pull that off. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, it's something like 7,000 years is the timeline of this film. That's how much time they're going to cover, not in great detail, obviously. But it's a Marvel film, so it's going to be a minimum 2 hours, probably 2.5 with all the stuff they have to do. In the trailer, they actively go out of their way to mention Iron Man and Captain Rogers, so right. they are keeping up to date. To what extent is unclear at this time. I just It's so weird for me that I don't really feel anything towards this film outside of, it's not fear, but it's just concern, because there's,
Trepidation.
I know Marvel had this huge history of history of, like, in 2008, of having a bunch of films with characters that weren't the big stars. They weren't the Spider-Man or the X-Men of the world. They were Iron Man and Thor, and then they created this out of it. We are 24. We will be 24 films deep by the time we get to Eternals after Shang-Chi. And they've basically got to start again with a bunch of new characters, but these are proper A-listers in these roles.
It's a challenge. It's a challenge for sure. It'll be interesting to see how they pull it off.
And they've put it in November, late November. So this is the Star Wars, Avatar slot that, Mary Poppins last year. This is the slot that they have reserved for their biggest release of the year, having the late Thanksgiving crowd going into Christmas. So this is just about the biggest film Disney are releasing this year, and it looks to be the riskiest big budget movie that they have released in a while. This is not a sure hit, but yeah.
I know you say not a sure hit, but maybe it's less risky in the sense of there's not a lot of competition. Like, other movies are pushed away from it and everything. I mean, most of the big movies are really not until next year, honestly, from what I'm looking at. So maybe they're good banking on everybody's going to want to go back to the theater because things are getting better, theaters are opening and all that. Next November will be when everybody's hitting it. So maybe it's less risky to them. I mean, understandably, not everything's Guardians of the Galaxy. So it could be awful. Yeah. But at least the timeline, you're putting it in a spot where, hey, people are going to want to see a movie. It's been years. We just completed the last cycle, and then we got a year off. If anything, people maybe are waiting for this. So maybe it's a good time, at least, even if the movie itself is risky.
I agree with that.
No, you go, Mike.
No, I was just going to say I agree with that. And regardless of how we think the film is going to turn out, at the same time, now, disclosure, I did not see the trailer yet, but it is still a big budget Marvel film at the same time. So maybe this is just the thing that people need to entice them to go back to the theater as we start to come out of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Possible.
I mean, yeah, there is definitely an element of that. The Christmas film release calendar it's been a bit odd the last few years. You've got your big releases like your Star Warses and Mary Poppins and that stuff from Disney, but the big hitters in terms of box office really have been films like The Greatest Showman, the Jumanji franchise. That's the stuff that's really caught a wave and lasted much longer than just like the 1 week, 2 week that Disney front load all of their movies and get the money from. It's always been the Jumanji and Greatest Showman. They run for 7, 8, 10 weeks, staying in the top 5 box offices of their respective countries to make money. Yeah. And that could happen again, despite the fact that there are a bunch of films coming out because we've just been waiting for everything. I mean, I'm just looking up a quick list of the stuff that's coming out in
James, you still there?
James, you there?
He's taking a look, but it ain't quick.
Oh,
so.
All right, well, while we're waiting for James to get back, so real quick, for those of you who have no idea who the Eternals are, because I'm not going to look, my whole thing was from 2005 as a race, or in terms of Marvel Comics, it was from Civil War all the way through like Secret Invasion, like every single major event. That was my point in time, which is where they're pulling most of this stuff from, for the most part, for at least the MCU. Really, the Eternals, I had no idea who they were before. Same thing with Guardians of the Galaxy, but Guardians became like my favorite mini franchise in the MCU, so I loved that. But for the Eternals, I had no idea. I did like a cursory glance at research. All right, so you guys don't know, Jack Kirby, Spider-Man, all these other great stuff, Fantastic Four, major influence, great guy. He had a tendency to get extremely high and write all this weird cosmic stuff. Like, he did it for Marvel first, and then eventually he ended up I think they booted him out of some bad blood or something like that. Then he went and wrote the Celestial side for DC. So all the stuff, all the weird space stuff, Jack Kirby, that is the guy. The Eternals, I really can't tell you much, honestly. I hope, but I'm really trying to go into this blind for the most part because, like I said before, Guardians caught me off guard. I loved it. It was my soundtrack of 2013. Loved it. So I want to see, I want to enjoy that as well, at least for the Eternals. But there really isn't a lot to go off. They don't have a lot of intersection with the mainline Marvel universe. They're just kind of around. So that's all I can really say about it. James, you back? No? Maybe? All right, guess not. We will leave and come back to him at a later time. So anyway, we had another issue going on over the weekend in particular. It had to deal with Biomutant. For those of you that don't remember, several years ago they announced this game, which looked like Rocket Raccoon the game. Speaking of Guardians,
did you guys not hear me when I did like a whole list of everything?
Nope,
No.
you cut out.
Damn it!
We're
So
sorry.
you want to try again? We were just about to move over to Biomutant.
Nah, I was just saying, like, it's not a safe space because they've got all these other films that are coming out around the same time. Like, within 2 weeks of the Eternals releasing, you've gotten Ghostbusters and the new Top Gun. The week after that, you've got the new Ridley Scott movie starring Lady Gaga and Adam Driver. Then a straight week by week, Resident Evil, West Side Story, Spider-Man, Downton Abbey, Kingsman, Matrix 4. Like, it is not safe for any of those movies, but less alone the one going first. People might wait nearer to Christmas. I will say there's a trailer coming out tomorrow, which is my most anticipated film of the year, and that is Last Night in Soho. This is the new film by Edgar Wright, who is arguably the best, I would say, one of the best directors working in the 21st century. This is the director of Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, Baby Driver, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. This is his new film, the first one that isn't a comedy. He's saying this is a psychological thriller starring Anya Taylor-Joy and Matt Smith and Thomas and Mackenzie. So that trailer's coming out tomorrow. Film's coming out October 29th. Big anticipation for that. Very excited. Right, go talk about Biomutant because I got nothing on that.
Yeah. I was going to say no one has anything on Biomutant, and then embargo's dropped. So, so Biomutant game that got announced, I want to say 2017 when it was announced initially. I want to say that, but it might be 2018. Ago. Yeah, it was a long time. Like this game was kind of not, I don't want to say development hell. It was more just, it was a long time in development. It's made by 20 people. They were working on this for a while. If you don't know what we're talking about, this is that Rocket Raccoon looking game. It's basically Breath of the Wild or Horizon Zero Dawn, but with rabbits or raccoons or other small furry creatures. Think sci-fi Redwall, maybe. That might be the best way I can put it.
Redwall.
And Sam and I were talking about Redwall the other day. Man,
I grew up on that.
Same here, man. Oh my god. But anyway, sidetracked for a moment. Anyway, so Biomutant, there was a lot of questions about it. We'll mainly just briefly touch on this little subsection here. The short version of what happened was that the devs for Biomutant were not able to get their hands on next-gen consoles. They weren't able to get their hands on it, so no next-gen version of the game is actually going to be available at launch, which is tomorrow. It's just not going to be available. So what's happened is that they are making the last-gen versions and then just kind of beefing up performance in the meantime. So what they're able to do on Series X in particular is they're going to have it at 4K, 60 frames per second. And on PlayStation 5, they are only able to get it to 1080p and then upscale it to 4K and then do 60 frames per second, which has gotten people a lot of uproar, a lot of crazy stuff on Twitter. I know David's seen it like I have. It's, oh my gosh. some of the takes I've seen are just unbelievable. Man. But anyway, the only portion about this, the reason why we bring it up, is that they've made a statement on it saying, hey, we're not able to make a PS5 version of the game. We're due to technical issues with this backwards compatibility type mode. It's not able to get it to work right now, so it's not going to launch with 4K 60 in the meantime, and people just got overboard over that. Yeah, I don't want to say in the same breath, but actually the Metacritic has compiled a bunch of the scores that dropped today, and they're kind of all over the place. I've seen like 60s, I've seen 90s, it's just all over the place. And so I think it's averaging around like 68 right now. Is that right? I think it was 68.
Yeah, something like that. It's high 60s, low 70s. Yeah. It's somewhere in there.
Yeah, it's just kind of all over the place right now. And so for me, I'm interested. I love whenever you see a game that's just all over the place, because that means it's divisive in some capacity. So I'm excited personally. I want kind of what the panel's idea, at least in terms of both of these discussions. So give me a twofer here. Mike, let's start with you. We haven't heard much from you today.
I'm definitely interested in the game. I'm interested in the concept of creating your own mutant and kind of like going out there into the open world. From what I've seen of the game, the combat does seem interesting, if a little bit repetitive. That's kind of the consensus that I'm getting. It's definitely a game that I'm going to check out at some point down the line. Definitely not at full price at this time. Maybe once it gets a price drop or two. I also feel like, I'm not sure how likely this is, I also have a pretty strong suspicion that this game is eventually at some point going to end up going into Xbox Game Pass. So that might be something to wait for too. As far as the conspiracy theories surrounding this game on social media, I mean, I agree with you. I've seen some really wild stuff. The funniest one that I seen was a comment from somebody, God, I can't remember his name on Twitter, but saying that, wow, it looks like Microsoft wrote them a check or something like that. Like, really? It's a studio of 20 people that made this game. It's a AA project. I really don't think Microsoft is writing them checks to make the game worse on PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
I hate those people.
I know. It's so annoying.
If Microsoft wrote them a check, I mean, like, get exclusivity. Why would you do this, of all things?
Put it in the Game Pass at launch. I mean, really. Yeah.
I don't know. David, what's your impressions on Biomutant? Do you think something you were excited for or no?
I've been excited since I saw it. I love little projects like this, especially big RPGs. Amazon had I don't know if it's a price mess up or what happened last year for the collector's edition for $60. So it was $120 and I got it for $60. So I went ahead and grabbed it because I was like, well, I wanted the collectors anyway. The biggest question for it is, once again, repetition. That's what I'm reading a lot about. That's what I've heard a lot about, is it can get repetitive, and there's good repetitive and there's bad repetitive. If you can keep me engaged, even though I'm repeating an action, I'm just going to keep repeating an action. That's why I go back and play Call of Duty multiplayer all the time. If it's bad, then I just want to stop playing. And that's what I think we're dealing with, is there's a lot of not good, bad repetition, as well as the other side of it is technical issues. When you combine both of those things, my game crashes. I'm just done. I don't want to play it anymore. That's one of the reasons Returnal, even though people were having issues, some of the crashes and stuff, the gameplay was so addictive, people wanted to go back. Even though, so Biomutant seems to be having the opposite problem.
Yeah. Sam, was this a game you were actually picking it up?
I was never like super interested, but like I had it on my radar. I saw a pulse go off every now and again whenever there was a sign of life. I'm like, okay, all right, I see you. You exist. I'll check it out. The issue for me is kind of what David said. I think he hit the nail on the head. It's a combination of the technical issues and the fact that it doesn't seem like the gameplay is 100% a draw. Like, very few people are talking about it in a compelling way. If it was just one or the other, maybe I would be interested. But for now, I think I'm going to hold off. They've said that full, current gen versions for the Series X and S and PS5 are coming down the line. So if those versions come out and there's a discount, maybe I'll check it out then. But for now, I'm going to pass.
Yeah. All right. I understand that. I don't know. I waited until I could see it being in not just Game Pass, but I waited until about 2 weeks before just to make sure it wasn't launched in Game Pass. I did want to support them, but I was like, their launch is in Game Pass though. I can't I can't really do that. So for me, that's what I was waiting for specifically. Once I saw that it was not going to be in Game Pass, I was like, all right, I'm good. I could deal with that. So. Other than that, I wanted to ask whether or not do you think they're going to be able to pivot from this? I mean, some games have been able to do this sort of thing where they're able to pivot in terms of making their game even though it started off at a iffy position, maybe able to make their game better. Do you think that's something they're going to be able to do or no? I understand it's really early to ask that question, but I'm more curious.
I mean, I don't think necessarily that. I think they can make it better. The question is if it matters.
That's a good way of putting it.
I hate to say it that way, but people may it may completely fall off the radar, and people pick it up for $5 down the line. It's like, oh, this was a great buy. Why did people not buy this?
All right, it's definitely possible. I mean, I'm still waiting for Cyberpunk to be made a better game post-launch.
Oh Lord,
I'm still waiting for that. So I don't know. I always get disappointed when that happens.
I think it all depends on how THQ Nordic continues to improve the game, especially on next-gen consoles, adding additional free content to it. I mean, it's not entirely unheard of. I mean, everybody's favorite example is No Man's Sky, with how that game was able to turn around a few years after launch. So as long as they keep plugging away at it and keeping people's interest in it, I don't see why it can't. I think it's unlikely, but it's certainly possible.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I can't take the phrase "it's certainly possible" or "it's entirely possible." It always just makes me think of Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I could see that. All right, so let's get started. We got a couple things we got to get into. We're talking about E3, baby. It's that time, and E3 is actually happening this year, and not just some crazy thing. Like it's not like a physical event yet, but I'm interested. I'm good. I'm excited this time, not like last year. Last year it was like I just gave up. I had no hope for E3 last year. I was just like, everything's going to get delayed. COVID. But this year, we're coming out of it. I understand things aren't going to be perfect, but hey, I'm excited to see what people got now. I just want to see. So, all right. So if you guys are new to checking out Multiverse Show, we have been doing it this way since I want to say season 2. We don't do the let's go like step by step. Who do you think what everyone's gonna do? Look, the gaming industry are creatures of habit. Yeah, we did that in season 1, and I guess a little bit of season 2. We were transitioning to this new system, but look, the gaming industry they're creatures of habit. The same old stuff's gonna be there. There's gonna be a new Assassin's Creed. There's gonna be a new Call of Duty. These are inevitable things that we're gonna see. Now, we try to do here on Multiverse shows, we try to give you like the hot sauce variety. We try to make sure you have a little bit of salsa in your life. We're not here just to tell you like, oh, we're just here to rack up how many things I got right every time. We like giving you a little flavor in life. So we have a different system. We like to give it the old mild, bold, and spicy variety. So we're gonna go one by one amongst our groups here, and we have our own picks for like our mild predictions, and then our bold ones, and then our spicy stuff. So we're going to start off with our mild predictions. These are things that we think are most likely going to happen this year, at least at E3. Things that we're going to see, things that may come out. They're not the spiciest stuff, but things that we can pretty much count on at this point. We're going to go one by one, just kind of do all of our mild stuff, and then we'll start gradually moving up on the spice ladder. Increasing the Scoville rating, if you will. So, who wants to go first?
We're going to go up from lemon and herb to peri peri.
Okay.
Which no one gets because Nando's isn't a thing in the US, which I'm shocked about.
No. Yeah, that's why I figure you're referencing some weird British thing, so I didn't get it.
Hey, I think you'll find Nando's is South African.
Okay, sure. See, there we go.
South African via South Africa. Have you guys never heard of Nando's? You never heard of the phrase "a cheeky Nando's"?
I've heard the phrase, yeah.
I am
Okay.
not.
You're missing out. Nando's is great. There must be a Nando's in like Philadelphia, Mike. No.
No,
He's trying
never
to
heard of
speak
it.
to me. I know it.
What?
All right. Who wants to go first with their mild predictions here?
David,
Anybody?
you're our guest. Do you want to go first?
I would like to hear kind of the way everything flows. So if
Alright,
somebody
sure.
else would like to go first.
All right,
I mean,
I'll kick us off
all right.
then. I'll
All right.
kick us off. It's fine.
Go,
All right, this
kick
is
us off,
mild.
Sam.
This is
What's our mild level?
This is the basic round. This is the ranch dressing.
This is
Okay, so
for,
I think
for our regional group, this is the Texas Pete.
exactly right. So whenever Sony announces their showcase, which I know we didn't talk about this, so I'm going to say it right now. That's the weird thing of talking E3 right now is it's almost here, but there's almost no showcases announced because everyone waits till the last minute for anything these days. So that's the weird thing. Even though if it won't be part of E3 per se, whenever Sony has their summer showcase, they're going to give us a look at the next God of War. And it will not be called God of War Ragnarok. It will have a different name, and everyone is going to be annoyed that they stuck with that name when it was never actually given in the first place. And to no one's shock, it is going to be for 2022 and not 2021. There, that's my mild.
All right, fair enough. I think we all agree that's a pretty foregone conclusion at this point. Well, foregone conclusion as soon as it was announced. So, anyway, anyone else want to go next, or I'm ready to roll?
Yeah, I'll go next. I
right.
believe whenever Nintendo decides to do their direct around E3 time, as they typically do, I do believe that we are going to get some concrete information, Switch Pro or a Switch XL, if you want to say, if they stick by their naming scheme. I'm predicting that the actual console itself is going to be close to the same size as it is now, maybe less bezel on it, like 7.5-inch screen. Maybe they go to an OLED 1080p panel, and they're going to beef up that Tegra chip, make it 4K. Maybe stick a little bit of a bigger battery in there. But I think we're going to get some concrete information on that. I believe they'll drop the price of the original Nintendo Switch, and that the Switch XL will come out this holiday for $300, $299.
Oh, wow. That's kind of bold, actually.
That's how Mike likes to live. He lives dangerously. That's why he got the title Don Deletion. We just kind of, all right, crazy old man. He's the curmudgeon of the group. We say, all right, crazy old man. And sometimes he's right. Sometimes he's right. So we just kind of give him that.
Well, I'll go next. I'll live
do.
in the middle of Sam. I'll live in the middle of Sam and Mike here. I feel like this is kind of at the top of the mild spectrum. I think Psychonauts 2 is going to shadow drop at E3. I think they're going to get up on the stage and say it's coming out today. It's already there on Game Pass to go ahead. There's 27 gigs used up on my Xbox right now. Why the crap do I have a full game? Not just a marker, but a full game. It has to be coming out soon, and where is a better spot to make everybody excited than the show itself?
I like it, man.
Especially because
it does have a flair for the dramatic.
Yeah, and especially considering the fact that they showed Psychonauts 2 for the first time on Sony's stage at E3, and for it to make a debut on Microsoft's stage, but then it'd be, it's also dropping today. It'll sting a little bit. Like, I think isn't it still launching on PlayStation?
Yeah, it will be. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that that'll probably be. They won't obviously talk about that, but they also dropped Psychonauts on Game Pass last month or this month. I think it's this month. Yeah.
Yeah, it's this month. Yeah.
So,
right at the beginning.
It's like you gave people a month to get ready for it. Sounds too perfect.
And we haven't had a shadow drop like that in a long time, have we?
We haven't.
I can't.
We haven't.
Nintendo does small. Nintendo does small ones. This indie game is available today, but like we haven't had a big shadow drop in a good minute.
Yeah, and it'll mix things up for Microsoft and Game Pass.
Whenever like a big drop like that, I always remember the Sega Saturn. I say remember. I don't remember it personally, but like I know the stories.
The old legends and the tomes.
Yeah. When did the Saturn come out? Anyone?
June of '94, I think.
So we all need to look at Mike. Most of us weren't even alive.
I really wouldn't remember it because I wasn't alive.
It was.
Because it was '94.
It was. Correct. I think it was June of '94. It was June. It was
June of '94. The Blue Moon.
Yeah, it is May '95. May '95 was North America release.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a weird release date. None of the retailers were ready for it. None of the developers were ready for it. Wasn't a good look.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So I'm next. I'm next for mild.
Sure.
I think we're going to see from Nintendo. I think we're going to see more stuff from the Zelda sequel. But specifically, I think they're going to announce that Zelda is a playable character.
All right.
And that is my mild prediction for that.
That's fair. It's fair. I like it.
Okay. So here's mine. And like one, I've thought about this one for a while, and I think it's not like a big one, but I'm gonna do off the cuff what I think the game's even gonna be about. Wolfenstein 3 launching like December of this year, but maybe early part of 2022. Like January, February time. Now, that's not a super spicy take, but I'm going to do it on the fly here. I'm going to tell you what I think the game's going to be about. Now, before I get started, if this is true, I'm literally just pulling this out of my ass. I'm just going based on gut instinct. And the last time I did this, I predicted Wolfenstein Youngblood. So almost exactly setting, exactly the ages, the two characters, and it's going to be online co-op the whole time. Like I did the whole thing. So I'm telling you right now, when you pull up this video like 6 months from now, then you look at it and say, oh my gosh, this is what the game was. I'm literally just pulling this stuff out of my butt. So it's going to be the last outing of BJ. They're going to do old man BJ Blazkowicz. It's going to be kind of like a God of War scenario. You're going to see, like, you're still going to play as him, but they're going to be clearly escorting it more towards his kids. They're still going to continue the era of two split timelines, and it's going to be which kid you save from dying. They're going to kill either the blonde or the black-haired one. I forget if it's like Soph and something else. I can't remember what her name was right now. They're going to kill one of them, and you're going to play as BJ or whichever kid you didn't get killed. And those are going to be the two split timelines. It's going to take place all over the world. With missions ranging from Japan to
Yucatan.
I don't know, Saudi Arabia.
I was just trying to find
somewhere in the Middle East.
Japan.
Yeah, and then like I don't know, somewhere else. I don't know. Doesn't matter. That's what I got. That's my just mild prediction. So
you want to spice it up in a little bit? Xbox exclusive or not?
Exclusive, totally exclusive. Like no questions asked. Like it's going to be the first big Bethesda exclusive because at this point I don't think Starfield's coming out this year.
No. I was just curious if you thought maybe contracts were signed for Wolfenstein 3 yet.
Nope. And because the thing is that the game hasn't been announced, so no one cares. So no, I don't think it matters. They're fine on that one. I think Wolfenstein 3 is a full-on Xbox exclusive. So that's my mild. Anyone else for bold? Or ready to go for bold?
Yeah, I want to move over to the blue side of the aisle. Talk about the PlayStation boys. We talked a lot about the DualSense when it came out, and we mentioned a specific company and a specific Frenchman, and how he might use the DualSense and the new PlayStation capabilities. So I am very, very expectant of David Cage to be doing something crazy at E3. I think he's going to announce his new game, and I think I'm also going to just pull something out of nowhere. I'm not going to guess at a name because Quantic Dream's names are as ridiculous as they are predictable. It's brilliant.
Jason.
Yeah, Jason's Revenge, but it's a Friday the 13th simulator. No, I think it's going to be something where it's all like the big gameplay demos. The first hour of the game is a complete auditory experience where you have to wear headphones and you're going to be guided through some area where you're just going to have to feel your way through using the DualSense. Something mental like that. Or he'll force you to take part in a sex scene. You know, it's the kind of thing that David Cage would do.
Mm-hmm.
So there we go.
All right. Who wants to go next for their bold predictions?
I'll go next. So I kind of have a two-parter for my bold predictions. Sticking with PlayStation, I do believe that we are going to see at E3 Sony revive one of their old IPs that we haven't seen anything from in quite some time. PlayStation 5 just came out, new gen console. What better time to keep your longtime PlayStation fans hooked and invested than to bring back one of the older IPs that got them into PlayStation to begin with? I'm talking something like maybe Siphon Filter, maybe SOCOM US Navy SEALs, which I know a lot of people have been dying for years. I would personally love it if they rebooted Twisted Metal. I believe we haven't gotten a Twisted Metal game since 2011. So it's been quite a while for that too. I do believe we are going to see something along those lines. One of the IPs that Sony's been sitting on, Sly Cooper, people have been dying for. I would personally love to see that. Something is going to get revived and announced at E3. The other thing that I have, this is something that's been in speculation for a while, is when is Master Chief going to show up in Smash Brothers? Well, Halo Infinite's coming out this year. What a perfect time for Master Chief to come out in Smash Brothers and announce that he's going to be available over the summer leading up to the release of the game, just to get people more hyped up for Halo Infinite's release. I think if he's going to be in Smash Brothers, now is probably the best time to do it. So mine is kind of a two-parter. I also have what would I like to see. This is neither bold nor spicy. Please, Capcom, for the love of God, please just do something with Dino Crisis. You have a beast of an engine with RE Engine. We know you guys know how to do survival horror. You're back in the game, doing great with that. Please bring back Dino Crisis in some way, shape, or form.
Hear him crying. Like, you can hear it in his voice. He's dying for Dino Crisis.
I am, because there's so much potential there. We've seen how good these Resident Evil games are. James, Sam, could you imagine Dino Crisis with that engine?
Oh, it would be amazing.
It would be absolutely insane.
I've never played it.
Speaking of that, go check out Instinction, Mike.
Instinction?
Instinction. Yes.
Not Second Extinction, Instinction.
Yeah, just Instinction. Yes.
Is this like a pop band simulator, a boy band simulator from the early 2000s?
It's supposedly a spiritual. I got a press release about it. It's a spiritual successor to Dino Crisis, is what they're kind of talking about it as.
Then why is it called Extinction?
Or Instinction?
I guess all the good names were taken.
Instinction.
Instinction.
That's a fucking stupid name.
No, it's awful. I thought the
really
same thing.
It's a stupid name.
Press release. If you relegate the stupid to the name, maybe that means the game will be incredible.
Well, maybe it's like I'm thinking about it way too literally, like extinction, exit, like, oh, dinosaurs are going out. but dinosaurs are coming back, so they're going in, so they're instinction.
Oh my
Like-
god.
Hey, I'm trying to help here.
How long did they spend in that room coming up with that name? I want to know.
I tell you what, the trailer is promising, though. I'm watching it.
All right.
All right, cool.
Who's
Anyone
left
else
to
want to
go
be
for a
bold?
I've got something. Actually,
All
I've
right,
got a two-parter technically here.
Oh.
Okay,
We here at Multiverse Show always endorse two-parters.
Okay, so I think Ubisoft, Far Cry 6 is coming September. I think it's going to be that quick. The big thing that's going to happen, and the reason it's bold, Game Pass Day 1.
Ooh,
okay.
Oh, wow.
Game Pass Day 1.
That's bold, bordering
I'm-
spicy, sir.
It to me, it fits it Outriders. I mean, this will be their September, like middle of everything. Hey, we're going to keep you guys tided over till Halo. Here's Far Cry for you.
All right.
The second part, and I know there's a lot of different talk about it, and people are thinking about it. We actually just had a conversation, me and Sam, in another chat somewhere. We all talked about it, and I promise I was thinking about this beforehand. EA is going to bring back Dead Space. I don't know how, but EA is bringing back Dead Space. It's either going to be a remaster or a
That's actually
reboot.
spicy.
Hmm.
That
Well,
was
no,
actually
but-
spicy. I would classify that.
No. But he
Says
just
the
had the
guy with
caveat
the
of like
$300 Switch Pro.
Exactly, right? Like, let the man be bold. Let the man be bold.
Yeah,
I think
coming back. I
the
just
boldness
don't
of
know
it
how.
being a remaster. Yeah, I think remaster is the right call.
That would be my thing. Is I think they're wanting to test the waters and do a remaster or remake, some style of it, but it's going to look pretty.
Mhm. All right. Anyone else want to go for bold?
Yeah, I'll give mine, I guess.
All right.
My boldy. We will learn what our Austin's next game is, and it is a game that is all about vampires and eliminating them, and like you can choose to become a vampire and gain vampiric strengths and weaknesses, or you can just stay a regular human. You don't have to become infected, and it will be launching sometime in 2022. Xbox and PC
Ooh.
exclusive.
2022 release day. That is bold, sir.
Oh.
Okay, fair. All right, so I'll admit for my bold one, I had a really hard time coming up with it, but I felt like it needed to be addressed in some capacity. So my thing's about Steam. So we've been hearing some rumblings from Steam lately about what people are asking, like, what are you going to do about consoles? Like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? And they said, oh, by this year, you will know our stance on consoles. And I'm kind of like, see, the boring thing to do would be like, they're just going to repeat the same old. We're not invested in consoles. We don't care. That'd be the boring thing to say. Now, the bold thing to say, this is the thing, I couldn't really decide a one bold thing to say about Steam. So I think my bold prediction is I think Steam is partnering up with somebody, whether that's Nintendo or Sony or Microsoft. I have no idea, but they're partnering up with someone. Now, what that looks like, I have no idea. I genuinely have no idea, because right now Microsoft's really buddy with Epic, and Epic's Steam's biggest competitor right now. At least I would say so. So, and they're being really buddy with them simply just because of the court case, and so there might be something like that. But then Sony's also been doing deals with Epic, so, and then they buy like a part of them as well, or invest money in them. So I don't know who it is or what capacity it would look like. I don't, but my brain, or rather my gut instinct is saying they are going to bring Game Pass to Steam specifically. Yep. And not just, these are Microsoft games, but have their own version of Game Pass from Microsoft that's available through them, and Microsoft gets paid for it. and they're going to merge any game that they already have on the Windows Store together with that. I think that is what the play is. That's what my gut instinct tells me about it. But I knew my bold thing was going to be Steam related, but I wasn't sure exactly what. I know I've talked about in the past. They already done the integration where you can see what people are playing on Steam when you're on Xbox, which is just a weird thing to do. When you can't even play together or talk to each other really, but it feels like there's something like that, and really we probably be Microsoft more than Sony at least, but I don't know, at least because of the Epic relation. But either way, that's kind of my position on that. All right, we're in the most interesting part. Spicy boys. You want to kick us off, or I can kick us off if you want. I think mine's pretty spicy. Oh no, please, Mike, kick us off, sir. What's your spicy prediction?
We are going to see some type of deal between Microsoft and Sega. I'm not saying Microsoft is buying Sega. However, both companies have been buddy-buddy for quite some time now, dating back to the original Xbox. So I think we're going to see a deal between Microsoft and Sega. It's going to start out where Sega is going to release a select amount of their legacy titles into Game Pass that day, like kind of like a stealth drop.
Ooh.
Maybe they'll come out with like a Dreamcast favorites collection or something like that, where all those titles will go right into Game Pass that day. So stuff like Crazy Taxi, Shenmue, Sonic Adventure, Jet Set Radio is a huge one. Maybe even Quake 3 Arena with online, which makes sense because that was a showcase Dreamcast title for online. It has that Bethesda connection. So it's going to start out with a Dreamcast favorites collection, and going forward, I'm not saying exclusivity, but going forward, it would be all Sega published games launching day and date into Game Pass.
You said the Bethesda connection, and it just made me imagine Kermit the Frog.
All right,
but
that is spicy.
That is some spicy. That's a spicy meatball, as they would say.
Indeed.
However, it's not as spicy as the two words I'm about to say.
Oh God.
Uh-oh.
And Beyond Good and Evil is more than two words, so we know we're good.
Yeah, here we go. Silent Hill. There has been Silent Hill rumblings for a while now, and it's more than just. It is more than just rumblings. There is something happening, and I don't know what it is, but I feel like I feel like this is the year, and especially off of the back of just how successful Resident Evil has gone, that there might be more likely to actually do it.
Does Konami still own that IP?
Yes.
I think they do. Yeah.
Whoever made it would have to make a deal with Konami.
I think they could. I think it could happen. There's never been a better time to do it than right now.
That's true.
Let Capcom make it. We already kind of seen what that will be like.
Silent Hill, though, I will mention this, and I think I pointed this out to the Multiverse chat. This is like months ago, if not a year ago. Last year all blends together. If you look at Konami and Silent Hill, they're only following one studio that's not Konami related. It's the Dead by Daylight studio.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it's Kojima Productions.
No. No, it would not be. No, they follow the Dead by Daylight studio, who I can't remember. Is it Seabreeze? I think it's Seabreeze.
Because Pyramid Head appeared in Dead by Daylight.
Yeah, but
right.
The other thing too is they also that particular studio also tweeted out they were working on a big IP for them. It's kind of weird. They don't really work on big IPs, so maybe I don't know. Maybe it's like a deal, like, hey, we'll do Pyramid Head and Dead by Daylight for now, but maybe we're doing something else too. But anyway, who wants to go next or spicy? I can go at any time. I'm just waiting to see. All right, please do, Dave. I'm interested. Tell me.
This is a joke one. 60 FPS Bloodborne.
No,
it hurts, but it's true.
let me one up you. 60 FPS Bloodborne launching on PC.
Oh yeah, that is spicy.
It's amazing that they haven't released an update patch for Bloodborne.
Weird,
especially
right?
since somebody's already made it work.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, my real one, Bioshock 4.
Ooh,
It's coming out this year.
This year,
and it's a PlayStation timed exclusive.
Oh,
wow!
Bold.
That's spicy, man. That's more than bold.
It's bold. I don't think it's going to happen.
Yep.
I'll say this though. I'll say this. Here's a hot take for you. The spiciest part of that is it coming out this year. That's the part I'm most skeptical about.
Yep. Yeah.
But I like it.
They've been real quiet. You never know. They've had a good relationship with PlayStation. Take-Two does. So it could happen.
Yep. Interesting.
That's true.
I like it.
That will be the play that would actually mean something. Like other than every Final Fantasy thing that's coming out, like to the Western market, that would mean something a lot more.
Yeah,
because Bioshock is like that reference series.
They're going to go over to Take-Two and be like, "Hey, you guys remember you owe us for that Vita title we never got."
Ooh, yeah.
And Agent. Remember Agent?
Don't remind me.
Oh man.
That would be interesting.
And lies Sam's hot, spicy Agent's coming back.
No, I'm not that. I know that there's spicy and then there's stupid. Are we mad? Okay, so spicy. Yeah, at this point, and it pains me to say that this is spicy, but Nintendo is going to reveal Metroid Prime Trilogy, a port of all 3 games, surprise launching this fall with a teaser for Metroid Prime 4 dated for next year. That's my spicy.
That is spicy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want it to happen though.
All right. Here's mine.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to tell you ahead of time. Some of you may have heard this before, but I think it can happen. I think it can happen this time. A new Quake game will be announced to launch next year. However, it will be the Smash Bros. Of shooters. They will not only have Quake characters, but they'll have BJ Blazkowicz. They'll have Doom Guy. I think they already have Doom Guy. But anyway, they'll have him. Then they'll have Master Chief. And then Kate from Gears of War. And then basically any other shooter character who's ever existed. And they will all be available and playable next year. And it will be an Xbox and PC exclusive.
That's a nice one. You had me at Quake, even before you got to the Smash Brothers bit.
Here's now. This is not
even more spicy. Free to play.
I haven't gotten to finish that. It could be Game Pass.
Yep.
So here's kind of my thought process on it. I joked about it before. I said, "Oh yeah, that'd be really cool if they made Quake or had their own like Smash Bros type of game." But I keep seeing this stuff with Microsoft, and they keep like talking about, us and Bethesda, like pushing it beyond just the normal level of just like, acquisition, but they keep talking about it all the time. And it's like, look at these mashups, look at these characters together. I'm saying, like, go ahead and make a game together already. It's like, get a room, but get a game. Just put it together, man. It'd be great. And look, okay, like, so Quake Champions came out like in 2017. It's about time by 2022. I mean, normally Quake doesn't come out very often. It's like once every 7 years or so, I want to say, at least on average. So it's not like a super, like, they don't have like a ton of iterations on it, but just a new Quake game. And just really push that, look, we have a bunch of different characters. And just, I could see like months leading up to release, like every month they add a new character from a different game you weren't expecting. and just
Here's
make it just
Corvo.
random. Yeah, like here's Corvo with a random flintlock pistol.
Honestly,
make-
yes.
Yeah, like oh yeah, you only get like 6 bullets, but you can also stab people to be an insta kill.
I'm blanking on the name. You could have Prey guy from the in it too.
Yeah,
Morgan
Yu.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Like not even just Bethesda
Morgan
stuff,
who?
but they could the thing is at release, or at least at the initial announcement, just really play up Bethesda Microsoft stuff, and then just start introducing a non-Microsoft IP just out of nowhere.
Can you imagine Gordon Freeman showing up?
maybe that's the Steam tie-in. Steam just shows up out of nowhere. Ah. But yeah, I had one, but like it didn't really fit here. But no, like I thought about things like, okay, like what a back, like these are things like I just decided not to include just because I thought they were like, it's not very interesting. Like, oh, Back for Blood getting announced as launching in Game Pass. That would be sweet. And that would be awesome. But that's just boring. I don't want to just do that the whole time. So I'm kind of avoiding that. So, all right. I know my time is up.
Before we end this, I have to put in, just because one day it will actually happen, a mainline Splinter Cell game will be announced.
Oh yeah.
Because if I say it enough times, it might happen.
Hey, that's what James did with Biomutant and Evil.
Yeah, this is true. It is genuinely shocking. The amount of stuff that Splinter Cell hasn't got. Appearing in Ghost Recon does not count. Like, it is just unbelievable.
I mean,
I hate to be cynical about Rainbow
it,
Six.
I hate to be cynical about it, but it's because they can't figure out how to make a Splinter Cell game an open world tower collectathon.
Yep.
Like I'm sorry. Like, I'm not trying to be cynical. I'm just trying to be real here.
It's very tough to make a stealth genre game at this point. Like,
yeah,
it
just in general. Just in general, stealth is not easy. Yeah. But keep talking it, keep speaking it into existence.
I'm trying.
All right. It's that time, and I know it. Time for a Resident Evil 8 spoiler cast. We had a good run. I know, but it's an hour-long show, and we're going to let these guys talk about Resident Evil 8 for a while. David, did you finish Resident Evil 8?
I did not, but it won't bug me if it's spoiled because I'm a scaredy cat.
Yep. So I'm in the same boat, but these three have been dying to talk about it for so long. I'm just going to let them do it. So, all right. If you guys are watching in the chat, I want to say goodbye if you're going to be not paying attention to this, because I understand you don't want to be spoiled. Some people take their time and enjoy games. Some people rush through it like these yahoos. But if you guys are going to be leaving us, and just remember to drop a like on the show, and we'll do our outros here just so we can get that part out of the way, and so you guys can just have as much time as possible to talk about this game. Dave, where can the good people find you, sir?
If you want to chat with me, if you go to SplitEnd89 on Twitter, you can talk to me there. Or if you want to read any of my stuff, just look up gamingtrend.com. I post pretty avidly on there, and we get a hold of the big games and like to talk about them.
All right. And James?
You can get me on Twitter at James_S Wilson. And yeah, that's about it.
And Mike?
You could see my always good and right and correct video game opinions on Twitter at The Truth of Mike P. Also on Xbox at Mike P. The Truth. And you could check out what I write on Level 1 Gaming at lv1gaming.com.
All right, Sam?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Samuel Tolbert. That's Tolbert. And you can find everything I'm writing over on Tech Radar and Windows Central.
All right. So you guys have enough time to leave so you don't get spoiled for Resident Evil 8. Your time is up now. Spoilers are inbound. And I'll leave it to James to lead the proceedings here.
I quite like having been designated as the Resident Evil expert of the group, despite the fact that I have played probably the least amount of any of us. Yeah. So should we just dive into like the really big stuff, or should we build up?
Yeah, how do we want to tackle this? Do we want to tackle it in, like, I don't know, do we want to break it down by sections? Do you want to just start with the big stuff?
You know what?
Here's the thing. I think a lot of the smaller stuff has probably been talked to death, even in non-spoiler cast stuff right now. So just go for the big guns. Is what
I do want to say, because we avoided saying it like out loud for a couple weeks. I just want to say that fucking baby in the dollhouse. Jesus Christ!
That section, my God. I had to stop playing. I had to stop playing for a little bit. It was actually funny because right after I finished that section that day, later on that day, I was playing MLB The Show, and my wife says to me, "Oh, I'm surprised you're not playing Resident Evil more." I said, "I can't right now. I'm good right now."
I don't get scared. I have to emphasize that. Like, I'm jaded. I don't get scared. I don't get spooked. That unnerved me when that section was done. And like, and you're frantically like pressing the elevator button. You hear it coming up behind you. You're like, come on, open up.
It's, oh my God.
And the hiding under the bed.
Yes.
Oh my God, like the psychological implications of like doing a thing that children do to hide from a child-based monster. Like, it's so simple when you say it out loud, but like tons of the games, it's such a good section, and I wish more of the game was like it. But if you made more of the game like it, then that section wouldn't be as good as it is.
Exactly. It's like, hey, for 15 minutes, this is going to be a Silent Hill game instead of Resident Evil. That's what it is, basically, and that's why it worked so well. That was a highlight. I loved. Okay, so I'll say this as well. Hot take, I think this game is better than Resident Evil 7. I legitimately think it is. And a big part of that is I don't think it has the same drop-off that Resident Evil 7. I think the ending is more earned.
I agree.
It's still a drop-off, to be clear. It is still one of the weaker portions, but I felt it was more earned in the direction that it went.
Now, curiosity. What did you feel the weaker portion of the game was? Because in my opinion, I thought Moreau's section was the weakest part.
I agree with you there. I sent Sam, I forgot your name for a second. I sent Sam a message saying this section, like, it is the weakest bit. However, where it is structured in the game hides that fact quite well. Because it's just because, like, if anything after the House Beneviento section would seem not great, but then to have the Moreau section, you sort of just steamroll through it quite quickly, and then you don't really notice that time has passed. And I sort of like to combine that section with also me looking around the village for all of the treasure.
Yes.
It worked quite well, and I obviously I don't know how everyone else played that section of the game, but yeah, Moreau's, and I mentioned it on the podcast. I mentioned it to Sam. I'm a huge fan of H.P. Lovecraft. Racist opinions aside, and it felt like we were about to do the Shadow over Innsmouth and have a bunch of fish people, but having one fish person that was just a bit sad. Like, it's just it was disappointing. It wasn't bad. It was just disappointing.
Yeah, I still think it's fine. I just think it's the weakest portion of the game.
I agree. Right.
It's the bit that, like, for speedrunners, we're going to go, we've got to go, we have to now go through Moreau section. Oh, great. Like, no one's looking forward to doing it even quickly.
Yeah. I will say this. One thing that helped the drop off as well towards the end, playing as Chris Redfield and punching werewolves in the face is great.
That was good.
Yes.
I love that.
That was good.
I love that so much.
That was a very cathartic experience towards the end there.
Yep.
Exactly. One thing I loved about this game was how each of the areas felt so distinctly different from one another. Mm-hmm. So Castle Dimitrescu, that was, in my opinion, the closest in Village to a quote-unquote traditional Resident Evil type of experience.
Yeah.
Then you had Beneviento's house, which was more psychological horror, like we were talking about, that Silent Hill realm. Then you had Moreau's section, and then Heisenberg's I thought was really well done too. I think a lot of things in Heisenberg's, like those enemy designs, they wouldn't feel out of place in a Wolfenstein game, especially the propeller guy. Am I right?
No, I mean they're based off of. It's based off of a manga that. Oh God, why can I not remember the name right now? I feel so embarrassed. But like a lot of Heisenberg's section is based off of a famous manga about like a modern take on Frankenstein, and that's what you're kind of getting at, I think, Mike. But to change it up a bit. Each of these sections felt like a distinct homage, like a distinct love letter to a type of horror. The village itself, that's like, the Wolfman and werewolves overrunning the village. Like, that's classic. People being bitten and scratched and infected, love it. Then you have Castle Domitres, which is basically Dracula, right? You have the towering, imposing, somewhat seductive figure, the three maidens. Like, come on, that's Dracula. That's so Dracula, it's not even funny. She even transforms into a dragon-esque creature, and Dracula means son of the dragon, so that's some great symbology. Beneviento is more ghost and puppets, like we mentioned, Silent Hill, Moreau, Shadow over Innsmouth, Lovecraft inspiration. I would even say Creature from the Black Lagoon-esque type thing. Yeah. And then Heisenberg is just like, it's a horrific
body
take
horror
on Frankenstein. Like, so it's just, there's so much about this that is just lovingly crafted to horror. I guess I'll sum up by saying, one, this is going to be a Game of the Year contender for me. Two, I don't envy Capcom trying to top this. I don't. They have their work cut out for them.
Agreed on both counts.
Yeah, I mean, because like Resident Evil games, in the mainline games, they sort of have done things in threes. So we had, 1, 2, 3, which is, let's call it the Raccoon City trilogy. And then you have 4, 5, 6, which is the third-person action genre. 7, 8, we've had the re-establishment of the genre in first person, then followed up by the expansion of that. I'm quite scared to see what happens in 9. I will play it 100%, but I am a bit scared to see what's going to happen. Also, is it just me or is this game really funny?
It's good. It leans in on the cheesy. Like, it leans in on that cheesy, like, old school Resident Evil stuff.
Heisenberg is one of the funniest characters in games from the past few years. He's really funny.
When he goes, "Lycans and gentlemen," I was like, "Oh, here we go."
But even like when the propeller dude is making the noise, he opens always like, "Shoot your fucking hole!" It's so.
I know.
And even just stuff like Lady Dimitrescu throwing her vanity just across the room, and then and the note saying, "Oh, I need a drink." Like it's low key like a brilliant comedy game.
It's perfectly used camp.
Yeah. Exactly. It is.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. The voice actor that did Heisenberg, isn't that also the same person that did Mikhail in the Resident Evil 3 remake?
Yes, it is. 100%.
But there are a lot of things in the game. I agree, that's just funny. Also, can we talk about the fact that Ethan's just kind of a goof, especially in the section where he first meets Moreau? Like, he very easily could have just grabbed the flask and hauled ass out of there before Moreau even saw him. But he specifically grabbed the flask, waited for Moreau to turn around so he could start to talk about, "Oh, I'll just be taking this." Like,
Ethan
you could have been taken and been out.
Ethan is weaponized dull surprise. Like, nothing shocks him, and he weaponizes it. Dude gets his hand sliced off. He's like, "Oh God!" And it's like, this is the understatement of the century, my man. Speaking
of him being weaponized, let's talk about Ethan, because like the biggest plot reveal is that Ethan Winters, after the very, very beginning of Resident Evil 7, straight up died. Like, he died and was brought back to life by Evelyn and was completely made of mold, skin and bone and cloth, everything, for the entirety of 7, which, like, I love that they gave a reason for why, like, the medical liquid works so well. It's because he's dead. I want to applaud them, but it's kind of dumb, but in a very, very resi way.
What was that big of a twist?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, the thing about it is that didn't come off as a big twist for me. Like, the fact that he died and came back to life basically was the twist, because I mean, it was very obvious he was infected with the mold. That was very, very painfully obvious. I assumed everyone thought that after Resident Evil 7.
Well, they got me. I didn't. I wasn't thinking that.
I definitely did.
I wasn't thinking that, but the twist wasn't surprising because I didn't think he was infected with the mold after Resident Evil 7, but you knew that over the course of that game, something was different about him. I mean, even in Resident Evil 7, there's a scene where Jack Baker amputates his leg below the knee and he just pours some juice on it and sticks his foot back on. So obviously something's up with him.
Yeah.
Even back then.
Yeah.
I did like that they gave him they had one line in the beginning of the game when he was wandering around his own house and he talked about weapons training. It literally is a throwaway line. There's like, "Oh, Chris gave us weapons training," and that is why he is better at handling weapons now. Like even just the way that he like the animation of him reloading, like he does it in a more professional way. He doesn't just chuck a clip away. It's a really good game, guys. I don't know what to tell you. Like, we're just going around going, "Hey, do you remember this bit? That was wicked, wasn't it?"
And that's what's so telling about what a fun ride it was. I mean, like I said, I'm on my third playthrough. I'm going to play through it multiple times more. And Ivan, you got your work cut out for you if you're not on our side come Game of the Year talks. Like I'm just giving you fair warning, okay, man?
Absolutely.
I'm already changing the rules.
Here, but Nick feels the same way. Nick is on board with us.
No,
so.
I'm making sure I change the rules so I get all the vetoes.
Okay.
Oh my god!
Well, the thing is, if you can only keep vetoing stuff every couple rounds. So like,
yep. When you're down to the end, that it's like last two veto.
Shit.
We'll figure it out.
Well, Fame's not gonna go with us on this. So.
Well, he might.
No, he's not.
There's been surprises. You never know.
Nah, he's going to be all about the Horizon Forbidden West bullshit once that comes out.
No, he won't. Yeah, no, he won't. It'll be 2022 when that comes out.
Yeah. What do we think of like we talk? I mentioned briefly about the future of the franchise. Like, obviously, Ethan is dead. Like he's dead, and that's it. Like they very, very conclusively said at the end of the game, this is the end of the father's story.
Wait a minute, though. Wait. I saw right after I finished the game, there was a video that somebody posted where in that post-credit scene where the SUV is driving away and you see somebody walk into the truck, right? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
If you go into photo mode at that time and you zoom in on it, the character model that they chose to use is Ethan Winter's character model. Now, I don't know if Capcom did this on purpose or if it's just like a general, well, he's about an average sized guy that we could show walking up to a truck from a distance. That's something to think about.
I'm skeptical. That feels more like they needed a model and they used one that was similar to him.
Well, that would be the logical conclusion. Certainly, I agree.
So I don't know much about this game. Once again, considering I'm a scaredy cat now, I was playing it to talk about tech specs for Stadia, but I've heard rumors that Rose will be who is the one playing in the next game, who you'd be playing as. What if Ethan ends up being the big bad boss?
Well, that's the interesting thing about this is they've kind of opened a can of worms. As long as, and to be clear, I'm for it. It's Resident Evil, like a can of worms is fine. But they kind of opened a can of
spooky worms.
Yeah, because they've made it clear that if someone has been touched by the mold, their consciousness exists in the mold. And as long as the mold exists, they'll always exist too. That's the thing. They've kind of left an avenue open to bring back anyone if they want to, who has interacted with the mold. through some real nonsense. I mean, that's kind of the entire driving force of the game. So
I mean, there's a 9'6" vampire lady stalking you. It's pretty nonsensical anyway. So
yeah,
Well, she wasn't always that tall.
yeah. So I just say that to say, like, if they really want to, they can find a way to bring any of these characters back. That said, I actually don't think we're going to play as Rose in the next one. I think it's going to be Chris. I think the Rose is a misdirect. Yep. I think it's going to be Chris Redfield, and then maybe after that they introduce Rose as a playable character. But I don't think we're going that route yet.
Sam, going back to that theory, though, they destroyed the Megamycete, though, and if I understand the plot correctly, wasn't that kind of like the quote-unquote the cloud storage, in a sense, the data bank?
It was. I'm just saying there can always be some nonsense of, there was more. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I meant by they've opened a can of worms. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, but.
How do you feel about the way that they tied it into the broader universe and the earlier games at the end in Meringue's lab?
I was about to bring that up. The lore dump room.
Yep,
I liked it.
And also,
personally,
I am so happy that we got a lore dump room that was a grubby, like a grubby lab that is like 100 years old, as opposed to like a super clean lab hidden underneath a Eastern European village. I was so happy that we didn't see one like nice test tube. Oh my god!
Yeah, no sterile lab. No sterile lab. Appreciate God.
But yeah, the lore dump room is that the entire Umbrella Corporation was inspired by the mold and Mother Miranda's work with Oswald Spencer.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, a lot of us guessed that because of like the umbrella logos that were around everywhere. Obviously, they're not the Umbrella logo, but you know.
Yeah, we got suspicious for sure.
I actually really like the tie-in. I think it works really, really well.
Same.
I thought it worked too.
Because it doesn't change anything about any of the other games in a retrospective way. It just gives a nice little flavor text as to actually why all of this happened in quite a good way. It makes perfect sense that an American could look at this Eastern European, basically magic, and go, I'm going to try and recreate that with billions of dollars. And it all goes horribly wrong in a unique way. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Special shout out to might be the single greatest video game reference of all time in the Heisenberg fight.
Yes.
When Chris Redfield comes on and blows up his factory, and Heisenberg says, "That boulder punching asshole."
Yes. I loved it. I lost it. I absolutely lost it. That was amazing.
Genius. Like, did that implies that like Chris's antics made like international news?
How many other boulders has this man been going around punching?
I know, right? Genius.
I don't know. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Yes, I did like. It's a different game than 7, especially tonally. I really don't think this is recency bias. I did like it better than 7.
Yeah, I've over bias too at this point. Like I'm sure that it's the better game.
Yeah.
I mean, when I first finished 8, I said the same thing to Sam. It's like I at the time when I finished 8, I thought I still prefer 7, but give me a few days and I think I might be there. And it's been more than that, and I am 100%. Yeah, it is better. On just about every level. The opening hour of 7 is better than the opening hour of 8, but as the game progresses, it doesn't even like begin to catch.
All right.
This is also
time for final thoughts. You got 5 minutes, just as a warning. So.
I also believe that this is as close as you're going to get to Capcom remaking Resident Evil 4 without actually remaking Resident Evil 4.
I mean, they're still going to, so you know.
I think
because of course they are.
I mean, well, no, I mean, it's pretty well sourced. Right, there have been leaks, there's been reports. It's pretty well sourced at this point that there is going to be a Resident Evil 4 remake in 2023. So,
I mean, the others have been too successful for them not to do it, right?
yeah.
I hope they do, because that game did not age well.
And also, I've never played it, so I really would like to play it.
I'll be honest with you, James. If you wanted to play it, the best version is actually the Wii version. If you could actually believe it, because the motion aiming with the Wii remote actually works really, really well with that game. It feels head and shoulders better mechanically than the other versions of the game, just because of that one change.
Oh, good to know. I'll have to buy a Wii then.
Just wait for the remake.
Yeah.
Yep.
I wonder how much I can get a Wii for. Probably really not that much.
Not that much at this point.
Yeah. All right. Oh, by the way, before I forget, Sam. So, did you know there's an Evil Within movie?
Pardon?
Excuse me?
There's an Evil Within movie. This is a random thing that I do for fun. I don't really watch a lot of podcasts or really any gaming content on YouTube anymore. What I do, though, is I do a lot of video film essays and a lot of reading and listening to things just like film history and things like that. There's a movie that's actually been in production for like 20 years, and the plot revolves around like a guy who has like dreams and stuff. And the funny part is it's kind of similar to Evil Within, in terms of like it's just random scary bits without a lot of connective tissue that works very well, at least for Evil Within 1. And they actually had like workshopped a bunch of stuff. The guy who was making it was like he was like a millionaire who was like, his father was like an oil tycoon. And the funny thing about that was that he died like working on it. Like he basically funneled all of his money into making this movie, because he saw himself in that movie. And he died, and they were like, all right, well, we're going to release the movie. It'll be like his final wish, and we need to recoup some of the costs from this movie. And they were like, well, what do we call it? And they said, well, there's an Evil Within game coming out. Why don't we just call it that, the movie?
Wow.
And I think that's the first time I've ever heard of a movie being named after a video game trying to get money off a video game market that has nothing to do with it. I hear about it plenty of ways the other way around. I've never heard it that way before. And so I thought that was funny. I wanted to tell you about it at some point. I mean, you were talking about Resident Evil, so I was like, sounds about right.
That is whack. That is absolutely whack.
Completely unrelated.
They made a film and then they were.
Right?
Oh no, they've done that. They've done that before, have they not?
I don't think so. Not where they're trying to like get money off of the video game market.
Oh,
like when they were trying to play a Confusion like game.
Didn't they do that with House of the Dead? Wasn't it just a normal zombie movie, and then they were like, "Hey, this could be a House of the Dead movie"?
I don't think so. I mean, video games do that all the time. They're like, "Oh, well, this movie exists, so we can make a video game based on that, or try to play off that market." Like, that happens all the time. But the other way around, I've never heard where like there's the other way around before. Like a movie's trying to pay off of the success of a video game.
Speaking of video game movies, Uncharted's first picture, you would not have known that was from the movie.
Yeah,
it just looks a bit generic.
I will say I find it really funny that people keep complaining about Mark's mustache. People keep complaining about his mustache. Like, that's the thing. Like, people either say, "Where's his mustache?" and they see pictures of him with the mustache. They're like, take it off." It's like, well, which is it? Do you want the mustache or not?
No, he needs a mustache. He just didn't need that mustache that they put on him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh man,
I'm still going to watch it.
Yeah, I'll probably watch it at some point. I'll watch it when it hits Netflix.
I'm a huge Uncharted nerd.
It's of all like the video game movies, it's the one that like has the chance to be the least bad because it's just so much like a movie anyway.
Yeah.
It's like really, what can they do to really mess it up outside of like just muck about with like mythology and stuff?
I have no idea. My thing is, if they don't mention his brother in that very first movie, then I firmly believe that my thought process that they completely made up Nate's brother for Uncharted 4 was totally true.
I reckon that they'll mention Sam, but like it'll be in passing.
They did choose the right time frame to go in when he's young and stuff. That way the movies don't really, as long as you don't like, retroactively mess something up, it's a good timeline to focus on.
Well, if they wanted to make it really accurate, they could have started filming it, when they said they started filming it with Tom Holland.
What's really going to happen is they're going to have one of those Devil May Cry DMC moments where a broom falls up against Mark Wahlberg's face. And he's like, "No, I don't look right with this." And then he pushes the broom away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else about Resident Evil before we shut down? Anything?
No, I think we said just about everything that we didn't say in like the big review discussion.
All right. Awesome. So, you guys, thanks for watching Multiverse Show. We already did our outros for the evening. So thank you guys for tuning in. We do appreciate it. Thanks, David, for popping up on the show. We really appreciate you coming on. You've been a really good sport, having a good time with us. We really appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on.
For sure. It's been awesome and fun, man. I enjoyed talking with you guys.
Absolutely, dude.
Likewise.
All right. So yeah, we did our outros. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Multiverse Show, the greatest show on Mondays, and we are out of here.